once again, real people, real life, and we are excited to have with us tonight, because I never know. We air this so many times. Mike Purchase, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing wonderful.
Yeah?
A little tired, but wonderful.
You just got back from the long trip.
Yeah, but I didn't run or walk or do all the setups.
I know.
You can come with me when we leave here. It's okay.
I don't know about that.
I just got back from Pensacola, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nice.
And give us a little bit of background, if you could, first, a little bit about you, okay? And then what your background kind of
ties us
Okay.
into.
brings us
I used to be as
mean.
mean as I look, and now I'm a big teddy bear.
Yeah.
Long story made short, I grew up in the city, just outside of the projects, real poor and an abusive background. Mm-hmm. Left home when I was 15 after my mother jumped on me and started beating me for taking up for her, and was homeless for a number of years. To me, the miraculous story was able to finish high school while I was living in a YMCA transient shelter and ended up going on to college. Came to Kansas and went to college at a little school up north of here called Tabor College. So have since gone on and worked with bands for a number of years and then worked with mental health, and then finally decided I wanted to go back and do some type of ministry, which is where I'm at now, working with the homeless and the poor. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you kind of knew, based on experiences that you had.
Yeah, I think that's a unique perspective. There's a lot of times people come out and because of their faith or whatever, or a lot of times a lot of really good reasons they try to do things for the homeless, but they don't understand the homeless. My faith tells me we're coming up on Christmas, and if Christmas is about anything, it's about God through the form of Christ coming to earth, being born in a manger, not so that he could better identify with us, but so that we could better identify with him. Mm-hmm. So it's the same type of thing regarding homelessness or helping those in need. Sometimes we need to experience that, or sometimes the people that have experienced that have a better understanding of what's needed in that particular setting. Mm-hmm. Mother Teresa, I think, is probably the greatest example of that in my lifetime. This little lady goes over into Calcutta and lives among the lepers so that she can better understand them and they in return better understand her. Mm-hmm. Gives legitimacy to the message, and you learn a few things along the way about things that really help. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where I'm at.
I did mention earlier, and we'll make sure we have it on graphics, but you do have, and it's really kind of more of a homeless shelter, but it's also kind of a mission. I mean, it's not really a.
We really try to stray away from using the term shelter.
Right.
And the reason is there's a lot of shelters. We get phone calls literally every day. Mosaic was a church that was started in Wichita a number of years ago, started in Delano, with a specific area of ministry to the homeless, the downtown community, and the arts community. Right. And I was not on board at that particular time. The church was going to disband. I came on board. We ended up acquiring property eventually downtown that was owned by Real Properties, the Minnesota boys, and that property was auctioned off. And we since purchased a house that my wife and I live in, and we can have up to 6 homeless people living there with us that actually live there. And then we have people that come to church on Saturdays, and we gather together through the week with what I would call non-religious discussions and that type of thing too. But we're really active about helping other groups and individuals provide services to the homeless and to the poor and the needy in Wichita. But it's kind of miraculous that the concept is taken up in people across the globe. You talked about the Santa thing a minute ago when we were off air. I do Santa for the homeless. I've done that for a number of years, and
totally recognize you for that.
So it was kind of cool. A couple of years ago, Australia, Tennessee, places in Ohio, a lot of places around the globe picked that concept up of going out and actually being Santa to the homeless. Right. So so we do a lot of work with the homeless, but not just the homeless, but a lot with them. Yeah.
Tell me if somebody's able to come and stay, for example, at Mosaic. I mean, you do have rules, and kind of walk me through your philosophy when it comes to.
We believe it's extremely important not to enable people to stay homeless, but to do everything possible to get them back on their feet again. So we do have rules. We live in a neighborhood. We serve our neighbors. We literally do. We have a lady and a gentleman that live near us that we take care of their lawns, their porches, and those types of things. And because my granddaughter is there 3 days a week and there's children in the neighborhood, we do a drug screen and we do a background check. Any instance of any type of sexual aggression, whether that be for minors or adults, those people are not allowed on premises. There's places to better serve them. And if a person they have to have a minimum of 6 months nonviolent behavior after release of incarceration. It's real easy to have 2 or 3 years of nonviolent behavior while you're in prison. We want to see that actively taking place while they're out of prison.
Right.
So we do that. We do random drug checks throughout the program, not for the intent of kicking out, but if a person is on drugs, or alcohol, we actively work if they are willing to receive services in the community for that particular issue. If a person is unwilling to receive those areas of treatment, then they're no longer a candidate to live in the house. It's really more of an old hippie community. I mean, we garden. Y'all guys were talking about that.
Yeah.
We try to eat healthy. We have a lady that donates organic foods to us on a weekly basis.
Right on.
And so it's really more of that's the best way I can describe it. It's like an old hippie community from the old days where we live together, we sharing things. There's minimal charge of $135 a month. That includes everything, all of their food, and it actually cost Mosaic between $150 and $175 through the year. And in the extreme months, it costs us upwards of about $200 a month for a person to stay there. So we're actually losing money, but we're blessed to have people that support us and enable us to do that kind of work.
Right. Wow. When you go out to the streets and you're talking to folks, kind of walk me through how some of that works.
Well, I'm on the streets quite a bit, and we have others that are on the streets. We get to know people. I was just in Pensacola last year. I was in North Carolina on the Atlantic side and in California on the Pacific side, sharing with various programs. Surprisingly enough, the most important thing that you can give a person on the streets is to get to know their name, to touch them, to shake their hands.
Time.
Yeah, I mean, but to get to know them. Again, my faith is a critical, important part of my life, and my faith tells me that I know a God who knows me by name, that I have a Savior who wanted to have a personal relationship with me, and I'm told to model my life after that individual. So therefore, I need to get to know individuals. I'm a clean freak. A lot of people don't know that. And when you have someone that is coated with psoriasis and they smell of urine, I still give hugs.
Right.
And then I buy in and I help the Purell company by buying a lot of their product.
Yeah, right.
But I still get to know people. The best thing I've ever received from the work I do is that a lot of the homeless know my name.
Right.
And so getting to know them, I was sharing earlier, in Wichita we have the largest obese homeless population of any city in the country. Maybe. That's not to say that we don't feed them.
Yeah.
But just look around. And
yes.
The last thing that a lot of folks need is food. I've got a good friend, Jim Neese, who told me and made it clear that the food sometimes and the clothing is what earns you the right to share your faith. And it's important that we do those things. Don't get me wrong, we need to share those things. If someone's in need, it would be terrible to make a mistake and not share food if someone needed food.
Right.
But getting to know them by name, getting to know their specific needs, and then seeing the lack of those types of things available is very discouraging and disheartening sometimes.
Right.
So like me and my friends going out, and we thought we want to help the homeless. Okay, so this is probably an innocent mistake made by many people. Okay, and maybe you can redirect us on what would have been a better choice. But we had extra beer, so we packed up lunch bags with beer, crackers, and peanut butter. I know, probably not a good choice, but we made signs that said, "We'll play for beer," and we traded them signs, and we made them play soccer and do hula hoop. And
probably a bad idea. That's kind of the demeaning to the individuals. As a matter of fact, I'm licensed and all that kind of stuff as a pastor, although people find that hard to believe. And I believe that the English language is too limited to not use the words that best fit the situation. And if I saw someone probably taking advantage of my friends like that, I'm going to probably use a few choice words.
What do you mean, like playing for beer?
Well, if someone's encouraging them to do things that are not necessarily healthy, or
we were trying to get them to get up and have fun and interact.
Yeah, the alcohol issues on the streets—that's a really bad reason a lot of people are homeless.
I know, right? But that's, in all honesty, I've seen a lot of them take whatever findings they may come across during the day and go buy alcohol with it. So
you run into a couple of situations there. One is the homeless and the things that we provide. In some ways, I was sharing with Robin this a couple weeks ago. I had a guy that was staying with us that was at one time was making very good money as a professional athlete, and the individual he couldn't come with $135 a month, although he was bringing home about $870 a month.
Wow.
And to use the words carefully, because I don't know what FCC regulations you got, his response was, I'd rather use, everything I need is given to me on the streets. I need nothing. I would rather use my money for the beers and the hookers, or the drugs and the hookers. And so sometimes we provide so much that person has no motivation
to go back out.
and so we have to be careful are we actually helping them, or are we enabling them to stay homeless?
And that's what we had talked about earlier. So what are some of the things, the choices that we could make better to help them?
I can't speak for everyone. Again, my faith is important. For me, I have to hear the Spirit of God say give or don't give. Unless I hear God, I feel like speaking to me through His Spirit, I will never give to a panhandler. Most panhandlers, and again, there's a lot of groups and people that will have issue with this. I would challenge them to actually speak to the homeless themselves and see. Don't base what you think on assumption or what you've heard, base it upon reality, so therefore speak to the homeless. The majority of panhandlers are not homeless. It is a scam to make money. They make good money doing it, and again, it goes back to the concept that for some of them, I can take you and show you and introduce you to individuals who will tell you that are panhandlers that they're using their money for drugs, and that's all they're using them for. That are those who are homeless. There are a number of others, again, that are not homeless. So looking for good quality agencies, check them out, because I know of a couple of agencies in town I wouldn't give a nickel to.
Right.
I know of others, though, that you can check out. And there's some well-established ministries. The Salvation Army in town, for example, is one of the only people that does anything for women. I get phone calls daily for women and children. And there's about 3 agencies in Wichita, of which the one that probably does the most is Salvation Army. So when you hear those bell ringers,
help out.
Yeah, those are the types of things. But help the agencies that are providing the help, as opposed to necessarily giving the money to. And I'll admit, I've given money to folks a few times. I gave money to a guy one time. I was coming out of Heroes, out of O-Town. He said, "I'll be honest, it's my birthday. I'd like to have $1 for a beer." And I said, "I appreciate you being honest. Here's $1."
Right.
9 months later, I baptized that individual, because he saw that I wasn't a typical preacher that was going to judge him for the fact that he had a drink on occasion. So I may have a beer on occasion. I may have a glass of wine on occasion. So who am I to judge? I just don't want to keep them in that situation if I don't have to.
I think the fact that you have an ability to come across, as just a real person, whether it's through the ministry that you do and that you offer, the help that you give to others is phenomenal. There's just nothing else like it that I've been able to see, in my life living here. I mean, I have done, and like there at Kellogg and West Street, the panhandlers,
It's a hot spot.
That one's a good one, but I've done that. I've given them the dollar bills or the change or whatever, or $5 or whatever, but I've noticed in the last several years, that that's not the best thing for me to do.
No, it's kind of a catch-22 situation, because there may be some of those individuals that are legitimate.
Right.
You really just have to trust your gut,
right,
to some extent. And I challenge people to think about why you're giving. A lot of times we give to help someone else feel good or to help ourselves feel good. And we really, challenge our people to think about, why am I giving this $1 to this ministry? Or why am I giving this $10 to this ministry?
Right. We're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back. Real people, real life.
Real People, Real Life is brought to you by these fine sponsors.
Real People, Real Life, going on location, thanks to Mid-America Power Sports. And Go Pro 4, now at Mid-America Power Sports, 333 Northwest Street, Wichita, Kansas, America.
Knapp Weaponry is the home of Wichita's newest indoor temperature-controlled shooting range. Mention this ad for 2-for-1 pricing weekdays from noon to 4. Knapp Weaponry is an NRA Business Alliance member that offers NRA and state-certified instruction classes, training, and women's unarmed self-defense classes. We buy and sell new and used guns and offer gunsmith services. Knapp Weaponry offers a free range session with the purchase of a new gun. We also offer transfer services and an array of ammo. Knapp Weaponry, the West Side's best-kept secret.
Hi, I'm Samantha.
And I'm Mike. I'm Domingo.
With Economy Motors. Tax time is right around the corner, and we're here ready to help you with your transportation needs. We offer a wide variety of quality vehicles priced $12,995 and under with easy approval and easy terms. Bad credit, no worries. Your job is your credit at Economy Motors, 2305 South Broadway, where we've got your back.
Economy Motors! 'Cause at Economy Motors, we got your back.
once again, real people, real life, we're going to dive right back into this. Okay, Mike? We are getting into that time of year, where I know that there is a lot of people that every year, and then it's hard, it's hard to say, but it is true, that a lot of times people wait till this time of year, and then that's when they decide they
All
want
of a sudden their
now
hearts
we're
are
going to
warmed.
give. Now I'm going to give, how can we, knowingly, as best possible, give to the right.
Well, didn't you say you're Santa to the homeless?
Yeah.
How can we help you?
Well, what I do each year is I do Santa Claus, and some of those situations I charge for. But I use that money. I draw no salary. I take no salary from Mosaic. It's really rare. Today I got a check for $300. It's the first one I've gotten in almost a year, because I brought some money back from when I was speaking in Florida and enabled the church to give me a little bit, and that's very seldom. But what I do with the money I get is I take and I buy gifts for needy children. So sometimes just knowing of needy families, a working poor family that doesn't have anything, I love going out on Christmas Eve, dressing up as Santa Claus and taking the gifts to those types of families. And of course we need people to give those gifts as well. We do a thing for the homeless every year to where we have them request their wants as opposed to their needs. People would be shocked at request of things like blankets and bus tickets or gifts for children.
Want.
Yeah, that's their wants.
Wow.
And so we have people that have helped with that. You ask what you can give. Again, I challenge, look at small agencies.
Okay, I agree.
And then be careful of the small agencies you look at. There, again, I can name a couple that I wouldn't give a plug nickel to.
Right.
See, and you never know who, like on TV, you see all these organizations, 50 cents a day, what have you, but you never really know what that's the outcome of that donation is, and you're saying salvation's a good one. Give to those guys ringing those bells, because that actually are seeing things on the streets taking place from that.
Yeah, correct. There's so many small agencies in town that do things. There's a group that meets down, we call it Wino. I don't know what the official name of it is. It's homeless folks call it Wino. Yeah, it's on Douglas, it's St. Francis and Douglas Street. And there's other groups in town. There's a group that meets back over behind where Mead's Corner is at, that does a church service on Saturdays. And but become aware of some of those groups. There's some other groups that are quite large again, and they've been under investigation for all kinds of different things and their morality issues. To me, it sounds kind of terrible in a way, but I kind of take a sense of pride that I can tell people emphatically, without any concern, that they know I'm not getting rich, that I receive no salary for what I do. And there's others as well. There's so many good groups. There's the Wichita Christian Homeless Coalition that's at Facebook that we started through Mosaic. There's probably 8 or 9 different groups that are a part of that, and they can go to the Wichita Homeless Coalition and check that out on Facebook. And each of the groups that are a part of that have listed their needs and what they do. That would be the first place that I would probably go. To
Which one is that one again?
It's the Wichita Homeless Coalition, Christian Homeless Coalition.
And how about you? You got Christmas covered?
We hope. I mean, the truth of it, the first year we did Christmas for the homeless, or Santa for the homeless, the first year we did that, we have what we call an angel tree put up. And we probably had 120, 150 people put their names up, and we had more gifts that came in than that.
Awesome.
Last year we had 30 and didn't have enough help for that particular group of 30.
Oh, wow.
So it varies. We have a church that's helping us this year, and I think that everyone that's on that list will have presents provided for them this year.
I was going to say, how could we get our hands on that list? Not so much the person or the family that it's going to go to,
but the items.
They can contact me, and I can put them in touch with the people that have.
And say that again. Where will they contact you?
Contact me at Mike Furchess at yahoo.com, or at Facebook at Mike Furchess, or Mike at Furchess.org. They can contact me. And then make sure you put something in the subject line, because I get emails from all across. Now, I actually thought about going and telling my friends to go post on your page, because there's like 5,000, so that would be like maybe 3,000 extra setups or something.
On my page, I'll post. I will. That's what it's for. I mean,
so I just think that if we could get that list of the items, because the fact that I have friends
we can
that
link to that on our Facebook.
Yeah,
I can link to that.
I would like to link to it too.
If you'll just attach us.
I can have you something tomorrow morning.
All right.
Yeah,
great.
just tag me in that post. Yeah. You got it, and then I'll reshare it to my page so everybody will see it.
I want it on mine too. Yeah. I mean, I have to agree with you. There are some organizations out there that
scandalous.
Yeah.
But there's some really
But then you gave
legit
a shout
ones
out to
too,
some
though.
local
So
churches too.
Yeah,
on your
well, the
Facebook.
church. Yeah, well, I did that today because we don't get much help. I mean, the truth of it is I get along a whole lot better with the sinner than I do the saint. To use that type of
sadly,
analogy.
but true, right?
Well, yeah, but I take
That's
a level of
so
pride.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's why I take a level of pride in it. It's that,
He much preferred the company of sinners.
I don't get and because we get so caught up in policy and polity in our churches that we forget. We forget about the basis of Scripture. I was sharing earlier, Matthew chapter 25 is the parable of the sheep and the goats. What you gave or didn't give is to depend on whether you go to heaven or not. Well, people totally, that's Matthew 25, 31 through 46. They totally leave out.
It wrong.
Well, I think they interpret that right, but what they do is they don't interpret it in context. Because Matthew chapter 1, or 25 verses 1 through 24, or through 30, okay, what it talks about is the responsibility of the receiver of the gift and what they're supposed to do once they're given a gift. And that's one of those things that a lot of agencies do is we help someone over and over and over and over again, and while we're helping them, that person who has no desire to help themselves, we ignore and leave out the one who wants help and who legitimately wants to get back on their feet again. And as a society, a little bit conservative, I'm more of a moderate, but I realize that as a government, as a people, we don't have all that money to keep throwing stuff out.
Right.
And so we need to use what dollars we have wisely, whether that be money spent for the homeless and the poor or governmental dollars. That's my opinion.
Right.
Now, one of the things that someone told me coming into the show, I were questions and stuff, was, well, aren't a lot of these homeless people there by choice?
Not anymore. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, probably, I did a show on the Jack Ellery show, which was Jack Ellery was the liberal Rush Limbaugh. And I did a program on his show nationally, and the deinstitutionalization of mental health centers really hurt. It came out under the Reagan administration. And what happened is the state hospitals were shut down and service centers were shut down and the homeless were put on the streets. And so 15 years ago, I would say the majority of people that we saw on the streets were mentally ill. Okay. Now I'd say that nowadays that number is probably closer to 50 to 60%. In Wichita, what we're finding is the economy is not doing as well as it has done, and we're working with people who have worked. We've had people that lived in our housing that lost everything that used to work at Spirit or Boeing.
Right.
And so the layoffs of good blue collar jobs, or from jobs where people are living from paycheck to paycheck. There are, for women and children, there is nothing available in which I have to turn down a place for shelter for women and children almost daily. There's plenty of shelter for men. This time of year, there's some shelter for women.
There's the Women's Crisis Center, right?
There's the overflow shelter for women, but they're all at capacity. The exception this time of year, the exception this time of year is the women's overflow shelter, where they're basically staying on cots or bunks. That's run through Interfaith, who as well does a good job. The AIC program has done a good job. But for children, what oftentimes happens if a married couple comes in town, and we see it weekly, the husband is sent to the mission or to the overflow shelter, the mother is sent to the women's shelter, and the child goes to protective services until they can.
No.
We see that weekly.
That's terrible.
So at that point, do we have an obligation to help? I begged 30 churches. And sometimes the summer's as bad as the winter. I begged 30 churches. My wife did most of the begging. I said, honey, beg. To get help for a family with an 18-month little girl named Hope. We could not get a single church to help out. That's when we had 16 days in a row of over 115-degree weather.
Oh my gosh.
We could not find a single church to help. His helping hands helped out, and I have to be careful about what I share because they don't normally do that type of thing.
Yeah.
Well, no, they don't have the means to provide funds to put someone. But they helped put this couple up in a hotel with their child for 2 weeks until they could get back to Ohio. And that's really the heartbreakers when you see a small child and there's nothing that you can do for that child. There's nothing hardly available. The Wichita Homeless Outreach Team, which is Officer Nathan Schweidel, helped get that started and runs that here in Wichita. Another very, very good group. They need help in providing living skills to help people stay off the streets.
Right.
See, once you take someone off the streets and put them in a home, they have to learn things like how to pay rent and how to take care of their financial responsibilities.
Manage time.
To tell their friends no when they want to come and smoke crack.
Right.
That type of thing. And if they don't do that and if they don't learn that, then they're back on the streets. We just saw that happen here 2 weeks ago in Wichita.
Somebody go back to the streets.
15 people in a program was put back on the streets because they had not learned yet the importance of developing living skills. Again, all things that are critically important but are seldom done and neglected. If we had $250,000 a year, we could open up another center in downtown Wichita, and we could serve upwards of 200 people a day, shelter up to 30 to 35 a night, including men, women, and children. But the cost of that's about $250,000 a year. We have another group in town that's trying to do that has not had a good track record with handling money. And so there's things that can be done, but it costs money to do those things.
I'm confused about a couple things. There's a lot of houses standing vacant, empty. Is there nothing in place here? I know in some states I've been seeing posts about they have these new little homeless houses and they redo them and just all kinds of different stuff. Do we have anything like that here in place?
We do not. There's some groups that work with some substance abuse individuals that may or may not have been homeless. Most of them are coming out of incarceration. But as far as helping with the homeless in that regard, there's not. Essentially what has to happen is that the owner of the property or the city has to release those properties or make them available for sale. Real properties, despite all the problems that they went through, I mean, they had a cease and desist order placed against them out of Minnesota. And but for us, they provided a place we're willing to work with us $1,500 a month, of which $700 could go towards utilities. And we were able, while we were downtown, to provide services to over 250 people a day, on periodically through the week, and on average over 70 people. During the holidays, the numbers pick up drastically.
Oh yeah.
And we would have special groups like the Wichita Wings or Wichita B-52s that would come in and serve a meal, and other groups. And we had those types of celebrities or groups, and our numbers would go up to upwards of 250. But we had to have that type of help. But, unless you find a property like that who's not in all kinds of legal trouble.
Right.
Then everybody talks about the spaghetti warehouse here in Wichita. Huge mistake. Just the utilities on that building will cost you $5,000 a month.
My friend actually used to live above it, and it was just ridiculous.
So it's a matter of finding something reasonable. There's things that could be done that would provide a huge help, but someone has to step up to the plate with money. It'd be nice if a couple of brothers in town would give a couple million to help something like that.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah, I can think of a few.
A couple brothers.
I can think of a few folks that could handle that pretty easily.
Yeah.
I just want to remind everybody again, it's www.mosaic, MOSAIC, Wichita.com. Okay, and you're located at 1249
North St. Francis.
You've also got one of the Facebook pages is Friends of Mosaic.
Correct.
Okay, and then you personally, Mike Furches at yahoo.com.
Correct.
Okay, and I think if anything, I want to encourage people to contact you, because I think it is better to work with you, than some of these others, just simply because you know what's going on. You're out there.
And don't you do Santa appearances to raise money?
I'm doing Wichita B-52s. I'm doing Dick's Arboretum, I think, next weekend, December the 6th. And there's some other places
maybe
for
we
private.
Can find you some more Santa shows.
There you go.
Some private gigs and stuff, too. So,
All right. We will be right back. Once again, real people, real life.
The views expressed in the preceding program do not necessarily represent the views of this station or its management.
Sal's Japanese Steakhouse, 6829 East Kellogg Drive. A Wichita tradition for awesome dining and always a great time. Enjoy our Monday to Thursday specials, including half-price chicken and shrimp dinners. Sal's is open 7 days a week. Come in, relax, and let us give you the treat of fine dining and good fun in a beautiful atmosphere. From our family to yours, Sal's Japanese Steakhouse, 6829 East Kellogg, Wichita, Kansas.
Credit King Auto Sales is getting better all the time. We're doing it better. We're doing it better all the time.
Credit King Auto Sales, the king of buy here, pay here. Bad credit, no problem. The King specializes in getting you in the ride you want, no matter the credit score. Credit King doing it better all the time with the largest selection to choose from in all price ranges at one location. The King's Corner, 31st Street South and Broadway, Kansas' biggest buy here, pay here. GoCreditKing.com.